As requested, here's a look at how I created my How the Suits Would Run video. We'll take a look at how the idea started, the filming setup and the editing involved, and tips for running in place. So this idea was an extension of my Suits walking video, which blew up in 2021, and that video was one of those iconic account changing videos that gave me a boost in followers, blah blah blah. But despite months of requests, I wasn't really equipped to do a part 3 because I ran out of characters to cosplay. And suits are not cheap. I also just had less of a cosplay range back then, but I knew that one day I would have more characters to choose from. So I planned on filming a part 3 and then eventually a running version, which was kind of like a compilation of all the characters I've done so far. And over the next 2 years, whenever I remembered, I scheduled time between all of my shoots to film my characters running in place. Now let's look at the setup. So I shot this in front of a window to create as much white as possible, making it much easier to mask out later. One of the tricks to walking or running in place is framing. So I often crop some of my feet or my legs, that way the viewer is forced to use their imagination. And having a white background also removes any frame of reference, and it allows you to alter the distance and the position of your subject to create the illusion that you're actually moving. So for example, Leora was running in place, but once I masked him out, I had him creep onto the screen gradually to give the illusion of him catching up. Space is always something that I am battling and overcoming. At the start of this project, I only had 2 ring lights. Shout out to my trusty broken ring lights, which are held together by duct tape. And since the ring lights weren't super bright like my nan lights, I had to push them as closely as possible to me to counteract the backlighting of the window. So at that point, I was running in place, trying not to slip, without hitting a ring light, without kicking the wall, and without hitting the window. And things got extra dangerous because I would try to run on paper or poster board, not only to help with the masking process in case I needed some of my legs or feet to show, but to avoid scuffing up the floor, which led to me slipping and sliding, which was quite scary, but I made sure to hide any fear in my face to make sure that the video looked authentic. And lastly, since a lot of you are wondering how I even run in place, I'll reveal my secrets. Honestly, you just run. Do whatever you need to do to not move. My thought process was that I needed to really focus on what my upper body is doing, and then I'll rely on my conditioning and body control to stay in place. The sucky truth is that it is tiring, and your hips might get sore and you'll probably end up sweating a lot. But if I had to analyze it to help break it down for someone, if you look at my feet are kind of moving inward when I'm running in place, which is stopping me from propelling forward. So it's basically like I'm rotating in place. And also hinging at the hip helps to create that lean and imitating speed. But it does look super goofy, as you can see with Kishibe. And so I covered up that goofiness by cropping and keyframing his position so you can only see part of his body until he turns around. Then at that point you can't even see the funky angle that my body is making. There is that one method for running in place that I saw on TikTok, but there's only so much you can do with that, and one of the reasons why I rotated in each shot was to add some pizzazz. I wanted the realness, the interaction. Filming is all about perception. Having expensive equipment and cool resources and awesome locations is great, but a little imagination can take you far as well.